Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United have drawn 1-1 with FC Rostov in Russia. You'd have thought we'd lost. Long ball United, boring United, negative United. Job done United is what I want to talk about, slant, on this video. Because ultimately, if you'd offered me 1-1 before this game had started, I would have bitten your hand off. Away goal, then that, it flattered them. I mean, the referee destroyed that game in many ways with his constant blowing of the whistle, the diving of FC Rostov, whatever. You expect that in Europe. You expect bad referees. They're worse than the Premier League. And the antics of the opposition was disgusting. But we better get used to that, whether it's this year in the Europa League or hopefully next year in the Champions League. But to come away with that 1-1, we totally deserved at least a draw. Probably should have won it. I had the chances to win it, and a bad defensive error cost us. The football wasn't great, but if you saw the team news at the start of the game, what were you expecting? The only exciting player in that starting 11 was Mkhitaryan, and lo and behold, he was the only exciting player throughout the game that he was on the pitch. It's not rocket science. You could pretty much read a formation, and we couldn't read the formation. It was a new one there, but you can read what the performance is going to be. Fellaini's not going to turn into Lionel Messi. Herrera's not going to suddenly be the attacking inspiration of the side. Zlatan's not going to turn into Usain Bolt. Mkhitaryan was the best attacking outlet, but you could see it was defensively set up. But it's a good result, and it is a job done result. And what I would say in defence, before I talk about some of the, no, I wouldn't even call them negatives, but some of the issues, which I know a lot of fans have tonight, and it'd be remiss of me not to address those. What I would say is, for those of us old enough to remember the days of Sir Alex Ferguson and the European Champions League, especially something that he really established in his last decade in the Champions League, was the away tie was pretty much like that. It was workmanlike. It was grind out the result, get them back to Old Trafford and obliterate them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, when it's coupled with the frustration of Bournemouth last week and some of our results over recent weeks, I understand where some of the frustration might be coming from and the disappointment from some Manchester United fans because they're getting a little bit fed up. However, hang in there. We will beat Rostov next week. It'd be a disaster of epic proportions to blow this now, having got a good result there in the first leg. So we will beat them next week, which will put us into the quarterfinals of the Europa League, which, by Mourinho's own admission 2 days ago, he said if we get past Rostov, he's going to start taking this tournament seriously. Now, I and many of you feel that we should have been taking this tournament very seriously now. But if Mourinho's on board from the next round, that's a positive. And maybe he might start picking a stronger side. But it is job done. That performance is job done. We park it and we definitely forget it. There was not much to remember about it, but there are concerns. I agree, but that team was so far off what our ideal team would be anyway. I mean, there's no Martial, there's no Carrick, there's no Luke Shaw, there's no Bailly, there's no Valencia, there's no De Gea, there's no Mata, and it didn't matter. So we should be happy with the result, and 1-1 it's not the perfect result. My disappointment from that result comes from the fact that there's two things really. Chelsea, we play on Monday, which I'll come back to in a minute, and then 3 days later we've got the second leg against Rostov at Old Trafford on the Thursday, and then 2.5 days later we've got Middlesbrough at lunchtime in the Premier League that we need to win, and we're away. So what disappointed me about that result today, and it comes to Phil Jones, is that at 1-0, I quite fancied that we were going to get the second goal. And if we win that game 2-0, then it is well and truly over. Because we missed an opportunity in the fact that we could, if we're 2-0 up, next Thursday, we can pretty much play the reserves again and give the first team a rest for a big game against Middlesbrough. We can't do that now. We've got to play the first team against Rostov in the home leg. And we've got to play the first team away against Middlesbrough 2.5 days later, and we are playing the first team against Chelsea on the Monday. Because my second point I was going to say is that, rightly or wrongly, Mourinho at this moment in time is prioritising Europa League, which will get us in the Champions League. He's prioritising that second to an FA Cup quarter-final away to Chelsea, that if we win, we'll probably have to play Arsenal or City or Spurs, and if we win that, we'll probably have to play one of them in the final. And we won the FA Cup last year, and the FA Cup doesn't get us into the Champions League. And I think it's a little bit of diva, a little bit of self-preservation, a little bit putting himself before the club, because he doesn't want to go to Chelsea, his ex-club, and get humiliated. And I understand that. I don't have a massive problem with it, but it was a risk that paid off. It paid off. We got a good result tonight, but hopefully the positive, he's going to start to prioritise this Europa League, because the Europa League should be up there with top four. In some ways, it should be the higher priority because you win a cup, and it gets us in the Champions League, and that's where we need to be. I am slightly concerned now that we will be playing the first team against Chelsea. We'll definitely have to do it against Rostov on the Thursday, and we'll definitely have to do it against Middlesbrough. So it's 3 games in 6 days, which is difficult, but we've got the squad to do it. We have got the squad to do it. Talking about the game itself, I'm going to defend Chris Smalling. I like Chris Smalling. You know what? I'm not Goldbridge. I present on the United Stand. The United Stand is a separate entity to me, and if you don't like Chris Smalling, that's down to you. I like him. He's good in the air, and I think there is an agenda against Smalling sometimes. He was shocking against Chelsea in October, and I hold my hands up. He's not had a great season. But those fans who want to blame him for that goal tonight, realistically, go and watch the goal. Go and watch the goal again. There's only one person to blame, and it's Phil Jones. And whether you want to witch hunt him out and say he's not good enough for the club anymore or anything like that, I've been quite consistent about that. I think Phil Jones has no future at Manchester United because he's injury prone. He played very well in December. He got injured. He played against Bournemouth at the weekend. I felt sorry for him. He was that bad. He was so rusty. And he's carried it on today. And ultimately, it's injury, isn't it? He was playing really well, but he can't stay fit enough to keep that consistency. So he gets injured, he comes back, he's rusty, and he costs us goals. He was poor against Bournemouth, he cost us a penalty. He cost us the penalty. I don't think Bournemouth scoring that game without the penalty, so he cost us 3 points against Bournemouth, and he's cost us a win tonight. The goal comes from a rubbish, well, it's not unfair to say rubbish, it's a simple ball over the top. He's marking somebody. He's watching the line. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. He's watching the line. He lets his player go. He's through on goal. Now, people want to try and blame Chris Smalling, who's got his back to the player that Phil Jones is marking, who is 10 yards away from the player that Phil Jones is marking, and who is playing an offside line that Phil Jones is looking at. It's all Phil Jones. Whatever you think about Smalling, and if you don't think Smalling's good enough for Manchester United, that is fine. But don't try and build some sort of agenda. I even saw it on the TV that are showing it in the UK trying to blame Smalling. And that's just the idiocy you get with some of the pundits on there. They might have been footballers in the past, but they've got brains for rocking horses. Brains of a rocking horse. I mean, it's just not Smalling's fault. Whether you like him or not, it's not Smalling's fault, that goal. It was totally Jones's fault. But I'm not going to hang him out to dry. I don't think he's got a future at Manchester United because he doesn't stay fit long enough. But I think he falls into that bracket of what we've seen with Fellaini, with Mourinho. Phil Jones is a player that Mourinho likes. But by picking him over the last 2 games, he's cost us a win against Bournemouth and he's cost us a win tonight. And that's the sad truth of the matter, isn't it? Mourinho has to take responsibility for that. He's picking the players. On the subject of Fellaini, I thought Fellaini played average tonight, by the way. As did Herrera, as did Pogba. I'm not going to jump on a Fellaini bandwagon. I never will. I think he's got probably the best chest control in football. He's right up there with Pamela Anderson. I know I say it every week. It's a bit of a joke, but it's true. His chest control is world class. He controls the ball on his chest and plays a 5-yard pass. I would imagine any footballer in world football can play a 5-yard pass. Zlatan then makes the goal. Mickey passes it in. He didn't play badly tonight. He played okay. But collectively, we lacked pace in that team. We were playing for a draw. I don't think Mourinho will be too fussed. In fact, I think he'll be very happy with it. I don't think he'll lose any sleep over the fact that some of you are not happy with that performance or the way we're playing, because sometimes you've got to grind out a result. And I would just come back to it again and say, job done. It's job done. It's a good result. And ultimately, if you want Manchester United to win the Europa League like I do, we've just got through the rounds now. Now, anything can go wrong at Old Trafford. I take that. First 10 minutes, 2 players could get sent off. We could lose the game. But realistically, in front of a packed Old Trafford, in a game that's going to put us into a European quarter-final, job done. And the hardest part of this job was this away tie. To stay in the tie, to bring it back to the Old Trafford. We've more than stayed in the tie. We've got a 1-1. The referee didn't help the game. There was a lot of diving from Rostov. Phil Jones came up with another calamity moment that allowed them to score. That needs to stop. He cannot play against Chelsea. If he does, we'll lose the game. But Pogba's an issue. A lot of people are on about Pogba. I mentioned him at half-time. He didn't have a good game today. What do you want me to say? He's our star player. He's our most expensive player. Do you want him on the bench? Do you want him being subbed off? Or do you want to stand by and persevere with him like Mourinho does? Personally, having given it a lot of thought, because he hasn't been playing well lately, I want us to persevere with him because he will be a top player. And who plays instead of him? Do you want Fellaini to play and Pogba not to play? Come on, have a day off. Of course, we want Pogba to succeed. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zlatan out now. We won't see Zlatan on Monday. A lot of people are getting fearful that we're going to play Rooney at number 9. I'll tell you categorically now, if we play Rooney at number 9 against Chelsea, we will lose. Rooney is finished as a number 9. I thought he played really well against Bournemouth, but Rooney's position is number 10. He's not a number 9 anymore. It's got to be Rashford. So that could be quite exciting. It was exciting to see Mkhitaryan up front. I mean, for those who didn't see the game, the formation was one that we've not seen at United before. 5-3-2 or 3-5-2. Jones on right, Smalling in the middle, Rojo on the left. Young, Blind, basically full wing backs. Fellaini, Pogba, Herrera, and then Zlatan and Mkhitaryan as a front two. And it was nice to see Mkhitaryan in that role. I think he'd be devastating in that role with a fast forward. I mentioned, people won't remember this, a lot of you, but before we signed Andy Cole, you had Peter Beardsley and Andy Cole playing up front for Newcastle. Beardsley with the trickery and guys and creativity, and Cole with the pace and finesse. And I think Mkhitaryan today up front with somebody like a Rashford or a Martial would have been very exciting, because Rostov were pushing forward and Zlatan doesn't have the pace. But we're always going to play Zlatan when he's available, and he's always going to play every minute. And that, you know, whether you like it or not, that's going to happen. But I think that Mkhitaryan thing was quite exciting to see, and I'd love to see us have a quick striker in the future, because I think it would help. XB Roughnecks says Ashley Young is useless. I think Fauzi Menza should be playing. I've been saying it for a long time. But Tanks Empire says he was decent. 10:30 tonight, I'm actually going to go and watch Roma versus Lyon now, because I am excited about this Europa League tournament. I'm excited that we will get through. I know we're not playing well at the moment, but I choose to park that thing and just treat it as the result it is, which is a good result. I'm now going to go and watch Roma versus Lyon, because I hope that we will be playing one of them in the latter stages, and I think it's a really intriguing tie. Because they are two of the best teams left in the tournament. However, my player rating show hasn't been abandoned. I will be live at 10:30 tonight. I know people like it when it's a bit of a later show. So I will be live at 10:30 tonight with the player rating show in a different studio, giving my marks out of 10 for every player today. So give that some thought over the next couple of hours. Maybe go and watch Roma versus Lyon, and join us live at 10:30. Thanks everyone for watching. I thoroughly enjoyed the watch along to this evening. It wasn't an easy game. It wasn't an easy game to watch, but we had a good laugh on it. If you are new to the United Stand, make sure you click in the bottom right hand corner where the hologram is and subscribe. Please do like the video if you like our content, and keep getting involved. It is the United Stand. It is your channel. We can't do it without you. And honestly, I don't feel that that's a bad result tonight. It's job done. There are things to discuss. We will be live at 8:30 tomorrow night with a Skype show where you can Skype in and talk about whatever it is. It can be Phil Jones, Smalling, Pogba, Mourinho, whatever you're happy or not happy about. That would be really good. But get involved. Get comments in if you're not watching live. Give us your thoughts and interact. That's what it's all about. And but don't worry. Don't be negative about this long ball United rubbish that our bitter rivals will be on about. The reality is we're still very much in a tournament that I want to win, and a lot of clubs that are so-called are better than us would love to be involved in. And Champions League is what it's all about. Champions League is what it's all about. And we've got to get it this season. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm back at 10:30 with the player rating show. Go and enjoy Roma v Lyon. I think that's going to be a cracking